What up, everybody? This is Stuart Knight, author of the books Marginalizing White Supremacy, Poetic Visions, A Steep Mister for a Sister, and my latest work of Spirit, The World Has Forgotten. And today I kind of want to speak on the what's not being said, technically, about black people and us, the 90% of black people, the grassroots, as normally been called, that is not being said by the presidential debaters in that recent debate that they had concerning the issue of reparations that is being raised by the grassroots. Now, what many of us don't understand is that this type of behavior has historical precedence. Maybe a couple times actually. That precedence being, the period following the end of chattel slavery in the form of Reconstruction and the behavior of the Southern whites against black politicians and black business owners of that time, and also during the time of civil rights. When black people started, calling out for equality in the form of integration in a sense, through marching and protests, and how, the Democratic Party, which was once the party of, open, virulent racism, became the party of, let's look out for civil rights and things like that. Now, we have to understand that, during the period of Reconstruction and before the establishment of Jim Crow, whites made a pact amongst each other after the Civil War that no other time in history would the white man ever fight each other for the civil or social equality of black people. So we have to understand that in this moment, when the 90% of us, or the grassroots, are putting out these calls for reparations, that same image is being cast within the white mind, that once again, white people might have to fight each other, for there to be some form of black equality put forth. And they're gonna, reject that notion to the fullest. We gotta understand that. But that don't mean that we don't keep pushing. Because like I said before, this action is not only meant to get that check cut, but it's also meant to reveal to some black people who have been fooled or who have been beguiled by integration into interracial swirling and interracial dating and interracial friendships and all this crap, thinking that white folks actually might have your better benefit at heart. In general, the majority of white folks may have your better benefit at heart, when all along all they're doing is couching their their racism and their white supremacy just to be able to exploit you. Now just think about it, during the period of Reconstruction, when blacks were actually progressing as far as, creating public schools and paved roads and all the other kind of initiatives, Southern whites, began a campaign of terrorism, and where they took back all of that and then began to lynch black people and create the system of Jim Crow, and Northern whites did absolutely nothing about it. In fact, they actually helped them in subjugating you by even taking on some of the same initiatives in the North. And not only that, the government in itself abandoned black people during that period in time so that these Southern whites could initiate Jim Crow. Now, moving up to the Civil Rights era, black people before that time were primarily Republicans, and because Republicans were so-called the party that, ended slavery. Well, those same Republicans are also the same ones that abandoned you during the period of Jim Crow. Now, what happened was that those Jim Crow Democrats, they bailed out and joined the Republican Party because of the issue of civil rights. And so then, the bigoted Democrats said, well, everybody looks at me, maybe integration would be a good thing. The ideal of integration would be a good thing, because we can actually then allow them access to some, of our institutions so as that we can exploit them. Not to give you any kind of freedom, but to exploit you. And as you see now, when it comes to the issue of civil rights, they want to give civil rights to everybody but you. They don't want to cut the check for black people. They want to give civil rights to people who are sexually confused or people who, aren't even, from this country. Who haven't put no skin in the game or shed no blood, to build this country. They want to give all those rights that you, died and fought for during the civil rights era to them. And the funny thing about this is that I was having a conversation with a young lady, very educated young lady, online not too long ago, where I asked the question to her. I said, if the issue came down to whether you are black, as to whether or not you're going to get some kind of government policy to help, assist us with the wealth income gap or things like that, or, being shot down in the street by the race police. If the issue was to arise, if it became that, it was either you're going to get, some kind of governmental societal benefit because you are black or because you are gay, which side are you going to choose? And here it is, I put that question forth to this young lady, and she's a very educated young lady. She would not answer it. She would not. Not that she couldn't answer it. She wouldn't answer it because, she was thinking it was a hypothetical question that was motivated by some kind of bigotry that I may have had, within my heart, when, in fact, I understand how white supremacy works. And I understand how they're going to create these wedge issues within the black community just to use them so that we'll fight each other. And here it is. Here it is. As Joe Biden said there on that stand, the man who initiated mass incarceration now, who destroyed millions upon millions of black families with that policy, didn't even, apologize or say, that he was maybe he took a wrong path in creating that issue. Instead, he went to LBGTQ and talking about what kind of benefits and social programs or whatever have you they're going to create for them. He wasn't going to correct his wrong. And that's where Barack Obama went wrong when he put him into the vice presidency, thinking Barack Obama, possibly knowing that, Joe Biden was the initiator of the, mass incarceration, thinking that Joe Biden was going to take some part in kind of fixing that when, Obama didn't understand how white supremacy works. When white supremacists put forth a policy to hurt black people, they're going to maintain it and keep it, period, regardless of what position they have or what you do. So, keep in mind, black people, the white supremacists are very crafty and very motivated. And they really want to keep their domination intact. And us as the 90% or the grassroots, we got to keep pushing this issue so as to expose the white supremacists for as they are, so that maybe many of these black people who want to coddle up with white folks and swirl and all that and think they got their white buddies can actually see what these people are truly all about. And not only that, we can then begin to move toward creating or rejuvenating, the ideals that we may have had during the Jim Crow era of self-sufficiency and creating industries and businesses and educational programs for our own, so that with the ideal that we know who are open, who the open aggressors are against us, so that we can definitely shield ourselves from that kind of aggression and prosper as a people. We have to return to that manner of thinking. The manner of thinking that was prevalent amongst our people during segregation, in a sense, of self-sufficiency. We had to remove the chains of codependency or the dependency mindset that was instilled within us, during slavery as ADOS black people. Something that, other nationalities and immigrant groups haven't had to deal with. How this debate, it showed right out there in the open that, you as a black person, you as the black 90% of the grassroots are not to be discussed, are not to be talked about as if you, period, as if you didn't exist. Right there they told you that the idea of black people going extinct is very weird, it's very real. So we got to make sure that that doesn't come to pass. by not falling for these gender and sexual confusion initiatives that, liberals and conservatives, put forth, by not, falling for the divisive tactics of pitting black women against black men, and black women believing because, they've been allowed to get this education that, somehow they surpass the reasoning ability of many black men, and that black men don't need to be listened to. Using the mantra of "you're not on my level" and all that crap. That shows, that if you didn't see this coming, with whites using, the sexual confusion issues against, the black issues that are coming forth, then evidently your education ain't doing you no good. You need to gain some intelligence. That is real when it comes to fighting this system of white supremacy. So keep in mind, black people, keep fighting. Keep pushing this issue of reparations to keep exposing the white supremacist cabal that exists within this country. Once again, this is Stuart Knight, author of the books Marginalizing White Supremacy, Poetic Visions, A Steep Mister for a Sister, and my latest work, A Spirit the World Has Forgotten. Peace.